whatever that thing is on. Okay. Bill Von Hellman, lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Cooper. House of Praise in Riverhead.
Amen.
Amen.
Father, we just want to thank you for this opportunity to come before your presence. We thank you, O God, for this new month that you have brought us through, O God. We thank you for this day that you have made for us to rejoice in. We thank you for the love, O God, that flows through this place, O God. We ask that you would just send down wisdom, understanding, and knowledge to our board, O God, and to bless the people with vision, O God, that this will be the best place that we can live, O God. We thank you for your peace. We thank you, O God, for deliverance. We thank you for watching over us, keeping us from hurt, harm, and danger. We thank you, O God, for those who may be suffering because of death in the family or sickness. We ask, O God, that they'll look to you, the author and finisher of our faith. We thank you and we bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Cooper. All right, Harriet Haas going to entertain us with cheerful Valentine songs.
Hey, what are you doing?
No, okay, I'm over there.
You guys are in for a treat.
With the mom, she pumps you.
Okay, cheerful Valentine song. Just for fun. Valentine's Day. Oh, two songs. Okay. Hello, everybody. Happy day.
Good morning, afternoon.
My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak? When you open it to speak, are you smart? But don't change a hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak? When you open it to speak, are you smart? But don't change your hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. And we got one more love song. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can be. Love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can be. Love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. Love was made for me and you. And since we're gonna make love like this, and since we got these people looking funny for Valentine's Day, since I look so funny, we'll put on something that looks a little funny.
Harriet, thank you.
Thank you, Harriet.
I think we have a puppy out there. Jill, do we have a puppy out there too?
Oh, where's the puppy?
Can I borrow that? Take home to my wife?
Big puppy.
Oh,
I don't know,
wanna
Harriet.
see the
I wouldn't wear that around.
puppy. Where's the puppy? Oh, where's the puppy? Oh, where's the puppy? Let's see the puppy.
I don't know. It should be on the agenda if they're having a puppy.
I don't see a puppy.
Do I have an award?
No puppy. I wish
No, I
I
don't have
could
it.
take the puppy. Where's the
Got it.
puppy?
All right, I think we have a,
No puppy.
do we have a dog?
Yes. It's in the back of the room.
Where is he? There we go. All right. That looks friendly. Put your hand down there first. Good looking dog.
Monty?
This is Monty.
Hi, Monty. What's up?
Like a nice dog. Yeah. All right, give us some details on Monty.
All right, this is Monty. It's a handsome boy, 5.5 years old. It's a Great Dane mix. Weighs about 95 pounds.
Weighs the same as I do.
He's a little darker complexion. Monty has lived with a family for the last 4 years, along with his best friend Gucci, an 8-year-old female who is also at the shelter, and 2 cats, Monty and Gucci, and 2 cats. Monty and Gucci were surrendered when their family moved to the area, from the area, and found out that where they were living did not allow large dogs. They were broken-hearted to leave these 2, but they had really no other option. Monty and Gucci have had basic training and know their commands. They are also housebroken and very loving. Monty is having a difficult time adjusting to shelter life and is very stressed. So we are hoping to find him a new forever home as soon as possible. Please come and meet this amazing boy at Rivet Animal Shelter or call 631-369-6189, extension 2, if you would like more information. And you can tell this is a family dog. No doubt
Charlie, you
about
got
it.
a dog?
He also shared his house with 2 cats as well.
Who doesn't have a dog here that needs a dog? Chris Cat, you got a dog? Where are you?
Beautiful.
You got a dog?
Yes, yes.
Holy moly.
And he loves to give kisses. He loves to give kisses. He's a good boy.
I already have 2 rescues, so I can't have a third.
Sit and wait.
John's got, and a dog and 2 cats, both rescues, so.
Yep. His family was in the United States.
They're not living room. Thank you, Bill.
Last dog. Find out that they couldn't have a big dog. And unfortunately, they have 2 big dogs. Oh, you know, came in with his adopted sister. Yes. We still have 2 as well. They were little celebrities. On Friday, they did someday Fridays on
Next time.
Very Valentine's.
Next time.
Yeah,
Well, no, this is
All
one.
right.
Yes,
One last thing, the North Fork Animal Welfare League
that's
is
fine.
having
Tell me and we'll do
a
it.
fundraising
So we're
dinner
good.
this
Yeah.
Thursday at 6 p.m.
There you go.
at Atlantis, My Furry Valentine. It's $75 a person. And North Fork Animal Welfare League runs our animal shelter, so we'd love it if some of you folks would be willing to come out to support North Fork Animal Welfare League in their fundraising efforts Thursday at Atlantis. $75, 6 o'clock at Atlantis.
Please say
Or Long Island Aquarium, yeah, Aquarium.
He's a big
All right,
one.
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Baby.
He's a big baby.
Strong.
Yes.
95 pounds, yes.
All right.
Weight.
Awesome. Thank you much.
Thanks, Eileen.
Come on. You were close.
No, my wife said no more dogs. I got one on my, in my living room. The ashes here. The ashes. In my living room. And a picture of it. My wife said that's the last dog we're getting.
Bring the dog home, she'll put you out on the curb.
All right. So that's
I'd like to make a motion
to accept the minutes.
that we accept the minutes of the January 18th, 2017 meeting. So move.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Okay. Under correspondence, we had a letter from Kelly Keller of the Riverhead Housing Development Corporation. And the letter was indicating the necessity to continue to serve the public in the town-owned building at 209 East Avenue, Riverhead. Under reports, there were 3 tax receiver collection reports, but I'll just read the last one. Their total tax collection to date as of January 31st was $78,050. No, $50,010.01. Under sewer district, they submitted their 2016 discharge monitoring report, December 2016. Sewer district also submitted their 2016 influent gallonage report. Central Pine Barrens Joint Planning and Policy Commission submitted a 2015 report. The building department submitted their January monthly report of $112,654.25. And that is it.
Building must be on the rise.
Yeah, they're working hard. All right, we have 2 public hearings scheduled. It is now 2:13. The first public hearing is a consideration of an application to amend the deed of conservation easement for the major subdivision of Demchek Estates. Mr. Cuddy, would you like to present this?
Charles Cuddy, 445 Griffin Avenue, Riverhead, New York, for the application. This is about a conservation easement that was placed on this site, which is a site that's between Riley Avenue and Toomey Avenue in Calverton. It's a 15.6 acre site. Conservation easement was placed there in 2007. The language in the conservation easement led to a question as to how to resolve the ambiguities. And I gave you copies, if you don't mind me just digressing a second, I gave you copies of the conservation easement, I gave you a copy of the resolution of the planning board, and also the proposed amendment to the existing conservation easement. The conservation easement at page 4 talks about no buildings or structures except for agricultural structures. At page 6, it talks about agricultural activity. But at page 7, there's an unusual provision that limits the use, apparently, to 40,000 square feet of a movable 40,000 square feet where you can have a house and a barn. And so the question became, what can you do at this site? We went to the Farmland Committee originally in 2014, 2015. Farmland Committee determined that you could have agricultural structures at this site, and we would be allowed to have 6 greenhouses and a pole barn. We then went to the Planning Board because the Farmland Committee wanted to make sure that their understanding of the conservation easement was correct. In 2016, the Farmland Committee, the Planning Board adopted a resolution confirming the interpretation that had been made at the Farm Committee. We then went back to the Farm Committee again in August of 2016, and they reapproved what we had done previously, and that is to have, instead of the house and accessory structures, to have solely 6 greenhouses and a pole barn. That's what's in the proposed amendment before the board. The ambiguity was resolved, I think, at the stage of the Planning Board, and should not be a problem. And the question became, who signs the amendment? The amendment signed by the applicant, and also we're asking the supervisor to sign this amendment. What we take a position is that it's really not so much an amendment as is a clarification, because there obviously is an ambiguity in the conservation easement, and it's been resolved by only having part of the agricultural structures and the house. We don't have the house, and if you'll notice at the very end of the amendment, we can't have anything but what's going to be there. We can't have more. We can't have other structures, and there can't be any marketing or retail at this site. So it's very limited. It's an agricultural site now. It's going to remain an agricultural site. And that's basically what this is about. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any of the residents wish to be heard? Anybody in the audience wish to be heard on this matter? Yes, if you'd step up to the podium and state your name and hamlet or affiliation for the record, that'd be wonderful.
Hi, my name is Faye Zawada, and I live at 108 Don Drive in Calverton. I'm directly behind the parcel. I just had a question about the map. Like, do they know a diagram of where the barn
Yes.
is going to be? And
Mr. Cuddy, well, I'm going to let people ask the questions, and then he'll show you the map and come back up. So
Okay.
he has the map.
All right, thank you.
All right, are there any other questions on this? Mr. Cuddy, show her the map, see if she's satisfied. I'll hold. I'm not sure. No, you shouldn't assign it. Like dead air? Does anybody else wish to be heard on this topic?
Anybody else want to sing?
I can't get that song out of my head that Harry did. Huh? He was a young artist that he tried out with that song. I think it was America's Got Talent.
It'd be interesting to see what Edgar says. Victor spoke to me on Thursday.
He's in favor of the project.
He's showing.
But I think it's.
Interpretation from the ZBA.
It's a mistake. She's so busy. The 7th week, trying to have this supposed to do it.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up. How, Okay, so, if nobody else wishes to be heard on this matter, Miss, are you done speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna close the public comment portion. I will leave it open for written comment until February 17th at 4:30 in the town clerk's office. Thank you for coming out, folks.
You had to wait till 2:20 anyway.
There we go. 2:20 having arrived. It is now 2:20. We have a second public hearing, the consideration of a local law to amend Chapter 301 entitled Zoning and Land Development of the Riverhead Town Code, Rural Corridor Land RLC Zoning Use District, Section 301-64. Richard, are you presenting this? You know, Jill, we're still, like, because this stuff is online, but I don't have any of the public hearing information.
Oh, because you got a packet, you didn't take it.
Yeah, we got an email from Julie, and it didn't have
But
public
did you
hearing.
get the-
So everyone got hard copies
We
too.
got a hard copy
Yeah,
too.
but I didn't take my packet.
Oh, okay. Next time we'll put it in there.
You can put it, hold on a second, we're just learning this. You can
Yeah.
put it on here.
Yes, we'll
Yeah,
attach it
but
to
I
a
wouldn't,
separate page.
I would almost do it, well, it's gotta be in the beginning then, if you do it before the
They do
rest
that
of
as
it.
hard copies.
No, it's hard copies, you don't have to, we're trying to get away.
That's just a scan twice.
Why do you have to scan it twice?
Some paper.
Because that goes onto the computer, like on our website,
Right,
and that information doesn't go on.
so just send 2 emails then.
It's scanned.
Okay, Richard, we're working on saving paper.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I know it's going to take 5 times as long.
you're gonna present this application, this
Sure.
public hearing? Thank you.
Sure. I'm Richard Wines from Jamesport and Chair of the Landmarks Preservation Commission. And this proposed, very modest proposal to change the RLC zoning in Jamesport and Accobock our goal is to provide at least a little bit of incentive preserving some of the abandoned but wonderful historic houses, like you see these two right next to 105 on Main Road, for instance, or this one right opposite the end of Tuttle's, I want to say Tuttle's Path, that's what it was when I was a kid, but Tuttle's Lane in Jamesport. And this is part of the Landmark Preservation Commission's efforts to provide incentives wherever we can. For instance, the 44A tax abatement program that the town board approved last year. Basically what this change does is it would allow an historic structure to be used for special permit for professional offices, wellness facilities, or general offices, and allow that to be enlarged by up to 100% or no more than 3,000 square feet. As long as that building was already designated as a town landmark, and as long as any restoration work was approved by the Landmarks Preservation Commission under provisions of town code. Already, most of these uses are allowed in the same area of the rural corridor, except that they're restricted to the footprint of the building, which means basically it's an incentive to demolish an historic structure rather than an incentive to preserve an historic structure. Unfortunately, we think there's only about 22 historic structures in the rural corridor that could benefit. But we think it's worth doing just to help protect some of those because they're highly visible. It's right at the gateway to the North Fork. The reason that the number is so small is that any part of the rural corridor zoning is less than 1,000 feet from either hamlet or village center already has zoning that allows far more building than this would allow. And so in the end, the only areas that this would be able to provide an incentive in are between approximately Union Avenue and 105, and also between approximately where Sherwood Vineyard is and just west of Tuttle's Lane. So just those two small sections of Main Road, but there's about 22 historic structures that this could provide some incentives that might help preserve a bit of our heritage. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Are there any of the structures or residences there that are not recognized as part of the historic district? I mean, part of the, that has been designated by landmarks?
Well, none of them, actually no structures there, I believe, are formally designated as landmarks now. What would have to happen is if somebody, let's say somebody were to purchase this house right in the corner of 105 and wanted to convert it to professional offices and needed to add 1,000 square feet so they could put in elevators and that kind of thing. Then they would apply to have it designated as a town landmark, and that brings them under the landmarks code, and so their approvals to preserve it would have to be necessary. And then they could come for a special permit to the town board to do what they wanted to do.
You say there's 22?
There's 22 structures that we think could qualify, being generous.
And lot area was taken into consideration also to be sure that they could provide the adequate parking that would go with those accessory uses or the addition.
All right.
I was looking at people buying it.
Are you finished? Because we'll take public comment now.
Sure.
All right, does anybody from the public wish to be heard? Well, go ahead. We have one. You might want to stand online. Could be busy.
Hi, Laura Jen Smith from Laurel. First, I'd like to applaud the Landmark Preservation Committee for their efforts to try and preserve the properties that are over there. I think that it's a great idea, and I support the idea. One question that I do have is that with the rural corridor zoning, is that parking is allowed on the side of the building as well as the rear and not in the front. And with the expanded permitted use for this zoning change would allow, I think, up to 3,000 feet or less of the building, which could then create, possibly 20 or more parking slots or even more than that for the building. So I would just ask that you consider that parking requirements for the special permit, the parking would have to be in the rear of the building. and not allow side parking, so you don't have a big parking lot there to maintain the character of the rural corridor.
All right, I'm just doing the math here, which I
Thank
can
you.
do in my head.
I think it's 3,000 feet, and I think
Yeah,
professional
I see that.
offices are 150 per
150, so
per
it could be 20.
3,000, so it'd be 20 plus whatever the original structure is.
Right.
So.
We'll consider that. I think the intent of the Landmarks Preservation Commission was to preserve these houses. So
Correct.
if the only mechanism to preserve the houses is to allow parking in the side yard, I think that the Landmarks Preservation Commission would support it.
Yeah, or even if you had to do side yard, if the side yard started back in the rear corner of the house, so it wasn't right up to the road, so you'd have the going in, and then it could be on the rear, but once back the original setback for the property of the house, maybe even to consider that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Warren.
Hi, Warren McKnight of Riverhead. I have a question for Roy and the town board. Of the 22 buildings, how many are being maintained sufficiently?
Richard, do you want to, Richard, what I'll do is there anybody else that wants to speak tonight on this subject? Okay. All right, why don't we let Richard, I don't want him to go back and forth, so he'll answer that question. Warren McKnight, was there anything else you wanted?
No, that's what I'm concerned
Richard, take a note so you can answer that question, because you're going to be our resident expert. Who else would like to be heard on this matter? Please step up and stand behind the podium, please, so we can get going.
Peter Lucas. I live on Main Road in Aquabog, and I would support almost anything that's going to help protect the integrity, our historic integrity on Main Road. And yeah, this seems like a minor thing for only 22 structures.
Thank you,
so
sir.
I support it.
All right, we have one other person. Well, we have one other person. Richard, come behind you.
Sure, sorry. I won't be hard on you, honey.
I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about that.
You watch yourself, sure.
If you could speak into the microphone and address the town board, that would be.
You want to hear what I have to say?
That's I always want to hear what you have to say. Give your name and affiliation.
Certainly.
And hamlet.
My name is Joan Zaneski. I live in Aquabog, and for this purpose, this meeting, I speak on behalf of myself and my colleagues on the Friends of the Rural Corridor. My concern here is with, Richard, is with your statement about 44A tax abatement. Now, how is that going to, how does that pertain to these projects? If somebody were to wanted to convert their landmark preserved home into a business function, would they be receiving a tax abatement? Or?
I'm going to let him answer it when. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter before I bring Mr. Wines back up? All right, Mrs. Zaneski, is there anything else you want to say besides that?
Only that if people are going to receive tax abatements, private citizens receive tax abatements for converting their properties to a business function, I don't think that's the right way to go.
All right. Well, I'm going to have Mr. Wines address it. I think he's well versed in this. All right,
Okay.
Mr. Wines, I think you're up.
I think it's more incentives than abatements.
Thank you.
First of all, in response to Mr. McKnight's question, I think there are at least 3 buildings that are totally abandoned and are of serious concern. The Landmarks Preservation Commission has all 3 of them on our watch list, where we try to keep an eye and we've tried to contact the owners and do what we can. We have a watch list. Ones we're seriously worried about.
Is that like the no-fly list?
Not quite that serious. And there were several others that look like they're marginal. They are still occupied, but clearly the owners are doing as little as possible. So.
All right, and a tax question. Do you have an answer for that? 'Cause
Sure.
I don't have an answer for that.
It's the 444A. That doesn't roll off my tongue either, by the way. Tax abatement. And what that allows, it allows anybody. Let's say you wanted to take an historic home and fix it up. And if that made it more valuable, And assuming that the assessors decided to change the appraisal, which isn't an automatic assumption, then taxes on the difference between what it was before and what it was after would be abated in decreasing amounts over a 10-year period. So it's designed to encourage historic restoration. In this case, it would only apply, the value of an addition would not count in that, so it would only be improvements that were done to the historic building itself. Hopefully that answers the question.
And Richard, if I'm not mistaken, it's keeping the same use, so it would be a single-family dwelling in the historic structure, and then the commercial use would be on the addition in the back if there was to be an office in the back. But it doesn't allow them to change it from a residence to a medical office and get the difference in the tax as a break. It's only what they spend. So if they spend $1 million to fix up a historic structure, and right now their house is being assessed at $500,000, they're not going to pay the increase in the value of $500,000 for the house.
At first.
As long as it's
At first,
For a period
it
of time.
depreciates after 10 years.
Okay.
continues to remain a resident, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? All right, we're going to close public.
Statement first?
Oh, you want to make a
Yeah,
statement?
because you didn't ask if we had any statements today.
I asked if anybody else wanted to be heard. Go ahead.
Oh, good. No, I just want to thank Councilman Wooten.
Oh,
The
no,
set.
no, we're looking for public hearing now. Public
What?
hearing.
No, 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 I just want to make that, we finished public hearing.
Get to close it
If anybody wants to.
Are you talking about the public hearing? Or?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to close the public comment portion of the hearing, and I'm going to leave it open for written comment until February 17th, 4:30 in the town clerk's office. Richard, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and the work on the Landmarks Preservation Commission. We may not always agree, but I do appreciate you, sir.
Good job.
So now we're going to open a public comment portion. Public comments on resolutions only. Sal, it might take us a little long because we've got to thumb through these things. Oh, what did you want to talk about? Sal, hold on. John had a comment. Go
I
ahead.
just have a comment.
Go ahead.
This past Saturday, Councilor Wooten and our new department, the intergeneration department, held a Who's Got Talent in Riverhead. For the children in Riverhead High School, middle school, they had 10 contestants that were the final. And if anyone next year, they're gonna have this every year, you have to go see these kids. They are great. I mean, my wife and I went and she enjoyed it. And you have to know, to get these kids up in front of an audience on the stage and do what they do. They sing, they dance. We had a juggler there who's gonna be in a circus. One of our Riverhead young lads is gonna be in a circus all summer doing juggling. And it's amazing what he juggled. I couldn't even see the cord he was catching this thing on.
Right.
I mean, he was good. So next year, please look for the advertisement
Riverhead's Got Talent.
for Riverhead's Got Talent, and come out and see these kids because you really will enjoy it. The supervisor and I were there.
It was a good time.
And we had a good time. So please come out and see these kids.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. I didn't ask for any committee reports. Were there any committee reports? Okay, you're right. I didn't ask for a committee
That's what
report.
we're gonna do. We're gonna see.
All right, Sal, how'd we do? And what resolution?
Resolution 94.
All right, so
So now we wait for prestige.
What was the rate before the increase?
hold on a second, because
There's no contract. Here we go.
Well, that's why Bill and I already figuring out a way to add it.
Sean, that's why you got the hard copy there, bro.
no, I don't.
Page
What?
110.
Yeah, $110 an hour before the increase.
Okay, well,
What's now?
what was the resolution looking at? 99?
94.
94, it's prestige data.
Which is setting a fee of $130 an hour.
That's good.
I'm just trying to see if this is going to work for us because the contract.
That's Vacy, right?
Yeah, that is Vacy.
Yeah, we talked about that.
It's interesting because now I'm not seeing the
It's on
page
page
number.
10
I
of
see
112.
that, but the page numbers are not showing on here. Do you see page numbers on here?
There's no page numbers. These don't have any page numbers on them.
I don't want to look up.
Isn't technology
Outlook.
great?
You're on 365 like I am. We don't have page numbers.
It did last time.
They're on VMware.
I'm on OneNote.
No, I had page numbers last year. Bill, we had page numbers last Thursday. I don't have
You have
them.
to go on the download
Okay. What's the next one?
Can you answer this question?
Yes, it was 110. No,
So he's
No, I'm on.
catching up over a decade all in one time.
He wanted 150, we want.
I take it we don't have to go out to bid for that because it's professional services?
That's correct.
All right.
Well, he's being phased out anyway because he's COBOL. He's our COBOL programmer. It's a little tough to find a COBOL programmer, and we are phasing COBOL out. In fact, we just took a major part of it out with our new payroll system. So if once we get the financial accounting software, they won't really, except maybe an occasional, we can't find something, we won't use them.
And he hasn't had an increase since 2007. He's been charging us the same flat rate every year.
Resolution 96. My question is, does the highway department have the dollars for this building in their budget? Or is it coming out of the general fund?
No, it's coming out of the Highway Reserve Fund. Highway Superintendent has been very good at managing his budget, and he puts money in reserve every year, and we spend it either to buy equipment and this year to buy a building.
Okay, the other question I have is, what's the life expectancy of a metal building? I mean, why are we putting
I don't know,
almost
the one
$750,000
around
into a metal building?
The one around the corner from you, how long's that one been up from the fire department? That's been.
Yeah, but you notice they're trying to replace it?
It's in good shape though.
They're trying to replace it because the apparatus got bigger over the years and they don't fit in there anymore.
Okay, so the answer is more than 10 years?
Oh, yeah, no. Our town garage is a metal building. Gio, do you have any idea how long the warranty or life expectancy on the building?
30 to 40 years.
30 to 40 years.
Yeah, all the farmers are putting metal buildings up for bonds now.
Okay, the other thing that, I looked at a couple of the bids, okay, just to see if they were close, and it's really weird. I mean, it's almost like whoever put the bids in read two different things when they looked at the specs. I mean, there's significant differences in the electric, which concern me, and in the price of the building for delivery.
What we did was our guys because our guys saw that, the engineering department sat down, I think Gio was in the meeting too, sat down with the vendor we're selecting to go over it and let that vendor know there will be no change orders.
Okay,
So what
that
you
was
bid-
my concern
what you
when I
bid
saw
is
the
what's
different
there.
numbers in.
Yeah.
Okay, Resolution 98.
Oh, good, if you keep it all in, close.
My question is, why do we have a procurement contract when we have a purchasing department? Doesn't the purchasing department do all the buying?
The procurement contract, if this is the one, we do a deliverables contract for, is this the one for the asphalt and aggregate and all the annual construction contract? So we go out to bid on one large contract. In theory, that gives us a better price. And, all the things that we're going to award it to all the same vendors, but it's Rosemar, I think, had it last year. Laser had part of it last year. So they're large construction projects or deliverables. So we don't have to go every time we want to pave a road. We don't have to bid the road.
Okay,
Bid
well,
it per ton.
that begs another question then. Isn't there any kind of a consortium between the towns to buy under state contract?
We do.
Whichever price we get that's better, it either comes off the state contract or off our general contract.
Okay. Resolution 102. There's no mention of a fee being paid for this parade. Usually on a 255, isn't there always a fee?
It's actually not a chapter, it's only an application for a parade permit.
Yeah, it's just not a chapter 90
It's
or
not a
whatever
chapter
it
90,
is.
just a parade permit.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
All right. Anybody else wish to be heard on resolutions?
Harriet.
Harriet? Oh, well, Edgar and Harriet's coming up. You're gonna have to back off there for a second.
Hello, everybody. Harriet Haas, Riverhead. Two resolutions in a row here, Resolution 107 and Resolution 108 ratifies the appointment of a call-in assistant recreation leader to the Recreation Department and a call-in recreation specialist. I was thinking that might be a nice idea for the senior center too, to have a specialist just for that.
They are. The senior and the rec department are merged now to
I know they are.
intergenerational.
That's why I was thinking maybe they have, the same one who does that is gonna do both?
Well, Melissa Muller actually works in the senior department part of it in the food services section. And so she's going to be a call-in recreation leader. So they are kind of cross-pollinating.
Oh, because that would be a very good idea, I think, have one for both of them. Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, does anybody else wish to be heard on resolutions? Edgar?
Edgar Goodale, 250 David Court in Calverton.
What resolution?
Resolution 104, I believe. I feel I need to recommunicate our position about non-industrial uses here at the EBCAL Park. Riverhead Building Supply is generally not in favor of any non-industrial uses at EBCAL. I have always consistently stated to many of you and many of the other boards in the town that our biggest concerns have always been the potential of conflict of noise and non-industrial traffic within the park. With that stated, we have reviewed the particular plan that you're discussing here today and are satisfied that our concerns have been addressed to our complete satisfaction. Currently, Riverhead Building Supply has 180 employees employed at the EBCAL facility alone. Our infrastructure costs exceed $30 million to date, with future expansions planned. We like EBCAL. We only wish others would too. We have the privilege, all of us in EBCAL have the privilege to pay a huge premium on our sewer rents over other areas in the town. We have lost our PSE&G benefits because we did the responsible thing of putting up solar panels, our 400 kilowatt solar panel system on our buildings. We need some good news. We need some good news at EBCAL, not news that some mega investor or company is going to do this or that and it never materializes. Baseball games can be won by hitting a home run. More often, the results are a strikeout. Baseball championships are won by hitting singles and by executing the details day in and day out. This project is a sound single, perhaps even a double. This project is ready today. It's ready to go. We need it at EBCAL. It has nothing but positives to add to the park and the town in general. Approve it.
It's not approving. What this does is
Whatever you got to do, Sean.
The resolution allows you to either do an environmental impact statement, or if you don't do the impact statement, you say the environmental analysis is done. They still have a long way to go to get site plan approval.
Whatever we can do to move the thing along quickly is
thank
what
you.
I'm in favor of.
All right, yes. Anybody else?
Good afternoon, Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Chick Voorhees of Nelson Pope and Voorhees, and I'm here to address Resolution 104 as well. I've spoken to the board before on this matter. I was at prior hearings and work sessions and participated in the preparation of the October 14th, 2016 response to all the comments that we were aware of up until that time. And as you know, prior to that, Cameron Engineering and my firm participated in submitting a detailed expanded environmental assessment. So you are considering today a potential for a positive declaration on this action. I am here to basically go through the items that are listed as reasons for the positive declaration, indicate where each of these items have been addressed.
It's not a public hearing, and it's a 5-minute comment period.
I should be able to fit it within, absolutely.
You have 5 minutes, sir.
I'd like to speak on the resolution. First one is freshwater wetlands. The proposed activity on the site is 535 feet from the nearest freshwater wetlands. The jurisdiction area under Article 24 is 100 feet. There is no impact on freshwater wetlands. Wastewater, I'll let others address, but I know that this has been discussed in detail in our response, and Cameron Engineering has done everything that the town has asked for, including paying of fees and examining wastewater systems with the town's consultants. With regard to habitat, There are a number of species that are present on the overall EPCAL property. We met early with the DEC. We documented locations of species, and we mitigated them through design. The primary one was the tiger salamander, and that's why we have a 535-foot natural area landward of the tiger salamander breeding pond. There is no impact on habitat on this site. The Peconic River and the Pine Barrens. We're not doing any activity in the wild, scenic, and recreational river area whatsoever. We've looked at it from a watershed standpoint. Stormwater will be controlled, wastewater will be treated. More than 35% of the overall site will be preserved in natural vegetation, even though this is not regulated under the Pine Barrens Comprehensive Land Use Plan. 29 acres will be permanently preserved through a conservation easement, and 1.89 acres of grassland will be restored that does not currently exist. There is no impact on the watershed of the Peconic River or the Pine Barrens. Transportation was addressed in detail. This goes into a little more detail in terms of runway access and such things as that. This site was studied for development by the town of Riverhead through the overall land use plan and generic EIS, and a much more intense development was envisioned for this property. Based on all the safeguards that we have built into it for the watershed, habitat protection, and this specific project, much less development will occur than what was envisioned. I don't see how this use is any different than a much more intense use with respect to transportation. We did submit a traffic study dated March 2016. It was noted that other types of industrial use would have much more truck traffic, and this will not have a significant adverse impact on traffic. It conforms and complies with all applicable FAA guidelines. There is no potential impact on transportation. Noise has been discussed extensively by this board. There were early arguments that we don't need to study an off-site noise source impact on our use. We got over that and did study it. The October submission has a very detailed diagram that shows you a high generation source of noise from an aircraft, the runway width, the separation to the property line of 500 feet from the center line of the runway,
You could wrap it up, sir.
an additional 200 feet to the building itself, and an additional 216 or 18 feet to the wing that would have any research facilities. There is no impact on noise. This will be mitigated through barriers, architectural design, and the inverse square law. Land use, this conforms to the PIP zoning that's applicable. And really, just very quickly, the most important point, community character. The resolution mentions social, economic, and so forth. From a social standpoint, I've heard you all say that this is a great use. Some people do not like the location. I believe it's the correct location. This is a shovel-ready project with a $60 million investment. And from an economic standpoint, 171 direct jobs will result, and based on ripple effect on the economy, the total number of jobs expected is 332. So those are my remarks. There are no growth-inducing impacts because the site is already designed for it, was studied for more, and there are no other alternative locations. This is ready to go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Next
much.
speaker. Listen, I'm sticking to it. You guys vote how you want to vote.
My name is James Regano. I'm an attorney concentrating my practice in environmental law. I'm here to speak on behalf of the project, in favor of the project.
Ask you limit your comments to 5 minutes, please.
Absolutely.
Regano?
And just a few points for the board. First, with regard to endangered species, the developer has applied to DEC for an endangered species permit. We fully expect that permit to be granted for one principal reason, and that is this 40 or so acre project will not be in any endangered species habitat. And in fact, the balance of the endangered species habitat on the 95 acres has already been preserved with a conservation easement on the balance of the property and will remain forever undeveloped and simply cannot be developed. That was done voluntarily by the owner of the property, and now will be preserved forever. With regard to freshwater wetlands, there is no DEC permit required because, as Mr. Voorhees explained, we are quite far away from any freshwater wetlands permit. With regard to a waterline easement, I personally have been working very closely with the Navy to obtain an easement over Navy property to allow access for a waterline, and I am virtually certain that that easement will be granted, given the response we've received from the Navy, and do not envision any problem whatsoever with that waterline easement. With regard to Pine Barrens, this is in the compatible growth area, and we are well below the clearing limits, which are the principal, perhaps the only Pine Barrens restriction with regard to this property. And just again, we're well below any clearing limits under the Pine Barrens. And in conclusion, let me just offer my legal view. No environmental impact statement is required for this project. All environmental concerns have been addressed. There is nothing further to evaluate, and there are no environmental issues associated with this project. Therefore, a positive declaration should not be issued, and no environmental impact statement is necessary. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I have a statement to read.
5 minutes, sir. Give your name and affiliation for the record.
My name is John Gursky. I'm an associate with Cameron Engineering and Associates. I'm the senior civil engineer for the Pecana Care project. By background, I've been involved with working on the Calvert and Camelot property for over 11 years. The proposed Pecana Care project has been formulated, revised, enhanced with significant input and coordination with town planning, environmental, and engineering staff over the past 2 years. The following represents a summary of key project data. The Pecana Care Research Campus is a 39.8 acre lease area within lot block 17 of the Calvert and Camelot 2 subdivision. That lot consists of 95.6 acres. The proposed project development area is 19.7 acres. That represents 20.6% of the overall 95.6 acres. 61.9 acres will be covenanted and in other ways preserved. Less than 14% of the previously approved development parameters on the map of Calvert and Camelot 2 are proposed to be built. This project proposes a 144,626 gross square foot structure or structures, and the previously approved Calvert and Camelot development for lot 17 was 1,044,358 square feet. The project will deliver a world-class research campus designed consistent with sustainable principles and low-impact development guidelines that meet or exceed the town's planned industrial park design standards, performance criteria, and Suffolk County Planning Commission recommendations. Parallel with the engineering and architectural design formulation, our team of engineers, environmental consultants, traffic engineers, and healthcare professionals studied, analyzed, and mitigated, when necessary, the comprehensive environmental elements of the project as required under SECRA. This 95.6 acre property has been studied and studied again, dating back to the generic EIS that was prepared for the 2,923 acre Naval Weapons Industrial Reserve Plant. It was again comprehensively studied, compliant with SECRA, in 2001 through 2007, when the minor subdivision and major subdivision were approved by the town and associated regulatory agencies. It is noteworthy, that the subdivision approval included a table of lot restrictions that would allow for over 1 million square feet of development to occur on the subject property. With this already in place, the applicant has taken nothing for granted and has taken a hard look at relevant environmental conditions associated with the Pecana Care Research Campus. This comprehensive study is part of several documents prepared and filed with the town to support a negative declaration. From community services to land use and zoning to traffic, infrastructure, and ecological impact assessment, the application has demonstrated that no significant impact will be introduced and that a host of important benefits will be the outcome of this application, which include economic impacts in terms of private investment, tax revenues, and employment, social benefits associated with addiction research, treatment, and recovery, environmental benefits associated with over 61% of the property remaining undeveloped. The applicant has consulted with town staff in vetting any potential adverse impact associated with the project. This would include fencing, screening, and the driveway access to the site along the taxiway. The sewage treatment expansion, which is not necessary in our estimation for the Peconic Care project, but is required for any future subdivision development. The applicant has demonstrated the hard look required under SECRA, the incorporation of mitigation where required, and cited the numerous benefits that will be derived from the project. We respectfully submit that a negative declaration of SECRA is appropriate.
Well done, you did that in 5 minutes. Next speaker. I watched that. Now that I have this little computer here, I can watch you actually. Everyone's going to get timed. That clock didn't interest me.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. John Morgenstern. I am the Director of Addiction Services for the Northwell Health System and a professor of psychiatry at the Hofstra Northwell School of Medicine.
Can you stay after? No.
I offer free advice afterwards outside. So I'm going to be really brief. I want to take the opportunity to express Northwell Health's really strong support for this project and to take a minute to explain why this is important for our health center. We believe that this project, when completed, will be a major improvement in the public health for the communities that we serve, and that's over 2 million people. We have 68,000 employees and 21 hospitals. And we also believe that the result will be a one-of-its-kind, unique research center to improve the quality of addiction treatment. And if I could just say how we see this, we all know that alcohol and drug addiction is a major health problem. We all have friends, relatives, loved ones who've been affected by it. What I think is less clear is that the problem is enormous. 1 out of every 12 Americans has an alcohol and drug use disorder. The cost to our society on an annual basis is over $500 billion. That's more in prevalence and cost than heart disease, diabetes, or cancer, any one of those. From a Northwell perspective, we have great programs to help people if you have a heart disease or cancer. We have great treatment programs in almost every one of our communities. We have great research programs. When it comes to alcohol and drug addiction, we have very little to offer people. And as an organization, we have made a strong commitment that we have to change that calculus and that we need to do things that will address addiction in the same way that we're addressing other chronic medical problems. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, because I deal with this on a daily basis, I get calls from families who are looking for help for a sister who was a teacher and got addicted to pain medication, or one of our computer employees who has a daughter who got addicted to prescription pain medication, and there are very few resources available. So we're committed to doing more research, and we're committed to trying to provide great quality care, and the Peconic facility is an ideal location to do both of those things. And what we're proposing to partner with Peconic is to create a world-class center of excellence. It's really the only one of its kind in the addiction area where we would be combining world-class research and treatment together. And right now, such a facility does not exist anywhere in the United States, and honestly, with the exception of Germany, almost anywhere else in the world. So if you think about, I think the way I think about this is think about Sloan Kettering, where if you have a cancer diagnosis, you're going to want to go to that state-of-the-art facility. And why is that facility so good? Because the scientists and the clinicians are working together, and you're going to be able to get the most cutting-edge care possible and available. And that's what we're proposing to do here through our 80-bed campus, which will provide treatment that I think will be at least as good and probably better than anywhere else in the country. And it will be the only great treatment program, residential program on Long Island. And I can tell you, because I came from Columbia, there is not sufficient quality treatment on Long Island. I would also say that we're excited about doing this because we we own Peconic Bay Medical Center. It's the largest employer in Riverhead. And we think that the benefit to the communities and the economic development that will come through the science, one more minute, through the science that will be created and the visibility that this program will create will be a tremendous benefit to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I just have to say, because here walks the greatest zoning and planning lawyer of our generation, because the whole way this thing hatched was through this young man right here.
Thank you for calling me young.
And I am impressed with how it hatched. I am impressed how you got the use through the ZBA. I fear that I'm going to come up short on the vote that I was looking to have, but I'm impressed with the way you did this, Mr. Messina. Vinnie Messina, everybody.
I don't hear any applause, but thank you.
I'm impressed, man.
Thank you very much, and thanks for hearing us today and for your patience with us. And so I won't be...
5 minutes, though.
I'll be less. 4.5. So first, I'd just like to point out that the resolution before you today, in its first paragraph, speaks of a research facility with 130 beds. I just want to correct that for the record. We were before you last, and we confirmed there's an 80-bed OASIS license for the facility, so we're not looking for 130, although that is what the ZBA approved. So I can understand where that error came from. But Supervisor, the last time I was before you, you said to me there were going to be some uncomfortable things, and you raised some issues, some very legitimate issues about sewer availability, issues about water availability, issues about noise, and since then there have been some other issues identified by Mr. Murphy and the Planning Department, and that resulted in us submitting to you back on October 14th of last year this very detailed and very specific document that went through each and every one of your concerns. We've identified in writing sewer capacity exists, water capacity exists. We have shown to you, demonstrated to you that the DEC was on board with the project and in fact had issued us the required permitting, I believe, that you were concerned about. With respect to noise, we've provided a very detailed plan with respect to noise and traffic, as were both mentioned by previous speakers, so I won't take too much of your time with that. We've demonstrated economic benefits since we've been here last, tremendous economic benefits that Mr. Voorhees spoke about to the entire town of Riverhead, not just the area in which this facility would propose to be located. And we've gotten a partner who, as you just heard, the largest employer in the town of Riverhead, and as I understand it, in the state of New York. What we're asking, let's be very clear, is for something that's 14% of the size of what has already been approved, not once, not twice, and reviewed not once, but twice. This is at least the third time in excruciating detail. We have reviewed each and every environmental concern, each and every economic concern, each and every community concern that has been raised. As a result, and we've cited the case law again in this document that was submitted to you in October, the conclusion is inescapable. There is simply no legal basis upon which to rely under these facts for a positive declaration. And we would ask, in fact, that you approve a negative declaration. That's what's appropriate here in light of the amount of study, in light of the amount of material that we have provided, and most importantly, in light of all of the environmental review that has gone on here for decades. And I thank you again very much for your time.
Mr. Kent, are you bringing up the end?
So do we.
I don't blame you. I've been there. We appreciate you. Christopher Kent, Farrell Fritz, PC, for the applicant, Peconic Care. to speak on resolution number 104, which is to consider under SECRA determination of significance and a positive declaration. You've heard a lot of speakers, so it's going to cut my comments very short. But indulge me for just a moment, and I will give you some things that weren't said before. The key points here, though, is that they're proposing a combined 133,917 square feet, where over 1 million square feet is permitted on this property. They're generating over 170 jobs, permanent full-time jobs there at the site, and with multiplier effect, creating other jobs in the community. The current license is for 80 beds. In the first 18 to 24 months, they'll probably have somewhere between 20 and 30 beds, with efforts to try to get up to 80 beds. If they wanted to go higher than 80 beds, they'd have to go back to Oasis and increase their state license. So it's important to note that you're not looking at this immediate impact of 130 beds on the site. I won't go through the analysis that's already been conducted by many others, but it's important to note that the freshwater wetland is not an issue because it's outside the jurisdiction of those wetlands. The compatible growth area of Pine Barrens, although this area is exempt from Pine Barrens, it does have an overlay on it under town code that permits 65% clearing. They're coming nowhere near that clearing limit. It's going to be much less than that. As you heard, the proposal is to develop approximately 40 acres of the 95-acre site, with the balance of the property to be set aside pursuant to a conservation easement for use by the Boy Scouts. There have been ongoing conversations with neighbors, including with Dan Preston, the CEO of Illuminati, and his council. Their belief is that they will be able to coexist as neighbors with Peconic Care at EPCAL. In fact, as recently as today, Robert Hasday, counsel to Illuminati, has spoken with Craig Masheb, who's the in-house counsel at Engel Berman. And Mr. Hasday stated that as long as Peconic Care agrees to have no issue with noise and provide security at the site to prevent access to the runway, they have no issue with the proposed use. The applicant represents today, on the record, that it will agree, and even covenant if necessary, that it will have no issue with noise on the runway, no issue with noise on the runway or in the industrial park that is permitted by the town. And it will provide security on site to prevent access to the runway and taxiways. The principals of the two companies have agreed that they share the same mission, which is to have EPCAL be a cutting-edge business center for technological advances in their individual fields. Both Illuminati and Peconic Care are working toward the future and can be leaders in identifying EPCAL as the place where future goals are achieved today. This project is ready to go today, and we ask that under SECRA you do not pause it and vote no on the resolution 104. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so you know, Chris, Dan Preston did send me a text that he was not supporting it as of right now. I did receive that a little while ago. It is what it is.
Well, I've heard from in-house counsel Craig Masheb at Engel Berman that his attorney...
I don't disagree with
Okay.
that statement. All right, does anybody else wish to be heard on resolutions? Not seeing anybody. Let's take up resolutions.
Resolution 89.
Oh, wait, I gotta get back.
Yeah, we get the. Okay, resolution 89.
Wait, Dunleavy, we didn't get all there. Oh, okay. Look at this little pointer thing here.
This is a simple one.
This is, I can let us get there. Oh, Jody's already there too. All right, good. What do you got?
Suffolk County grant to purchase teleconference equipment, budget adoption. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio. I just want to thank Sheriff DeMarco for this funding. It's great, and it's $22,000, almost $23,000 worth of that he's given us here. So thank you, and yes.
Wooten.
What? Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes, I got to thank again Sheriff DeMarco. He's going to reimburse all the eastern towns for their teleconference equipment. So he's spending a lot of money on the East End, so I want to thank him very much.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
Resolution 90.
Chapter 90 is a capital project closure number 60021. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 91.
Capital project closure number 60024. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 92.
Ambulance District Equipment Budget Adjustment. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes, this is going to be $100,000 for our two extra ambulances that we're having in case someone breaks down. We'll have the extra ones to use. So I vote yes.
Walter.
Public safety.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 93.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post requests for proposals for GASB 45. So move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 94.
It sets the hourly rate for Prestige Data Incorporated. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 95.
Authorization to publish advertisement for disposal and recycling of municipal solid waste. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 96.
Awards bid for Highway Department Metal Storage Building. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 97.
You gotta get there. You gotta get through all the good specs.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious.
So, in case you were wondering, the bid specs were in this one. 97, ready? Go ahead.
Two shoes. Authorize the town clerk to publish and post the attached notice to bidders for the annual construction contract. So move.
I got it. I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 98.
98 authorizes town clerk to publish and post the attached notice to bidders for the annual procurement contract. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 99.
Authorizes attendance of a judge for training. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes, this is the drug court. We were one of the first to implement this, and the judge has to go on a conference, Judge Smith, so I vote yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 100.
Appoints a public safety dispatcher to the police department. So moved.
John?
Oh, second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
I'll go on board, yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 101.
Wait.
Oh, you
Just
messed
hit
it
the
up
screen
now.
to the right, John.
Now, I'm going to,
There it is.
I'm going to go to paper. All right.
We're a work in progress.
We're work in progress. Authorize the publication of help wanted advertisement, attendance at Suffolk County Police Academy. So move.
And seconded. I was gonna second. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes, so anybody that wants to go to the Suffolk County Police Academy part-time,
their own
academy, on their own time, and, they can submit an application to us, and the academy's gonna start in October,
Yes, probably.
probably in October, so, and you can be a part-time police officer
For
for
the town,
next
right?
year, for the town or for other towns, if you, stay with us for 1 year. So, I vote, yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 102.
102 approves, it's not a chapter 255, it approves the parade and assembly application permit of the East End Emerald Society for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, March 25th, 2017. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes, as amended correctly.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes, and they're gonna honor, Councilwoman
Yes.
That's it.
Anybody?
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 103.
Hold on one second. Yeah, I don't think we got the Association of Towns one. Association of Towns resolution to approve the, can you go over and see if Julie and see if she can find that or print that resolution? 'Cause,
Is it-
Laura Calavita would have it. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it here?
It was in the work session.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, what are we on, 103?
103.
Okay.
103.
Jody, okay.
Resolution number 103 ratifies the authorization to publish a health wanted advertisement for a water treatment plant operator, to be. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 104.
Secret determination of significance for the site plan application known as Peconic Care, Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-135-1-7.56, Calverton, New York. So moved.
and seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
No.
Giglio.
I just want to say that the ZBA determined that the beds were accessory to the research facility, and I feel that the research facility is needed to the drug epidemic that we have in Suffolk County. And I think this is an important part to adopt into the Northwell Health System, and I'm glad that they're here to support the application. And I believe that all of the issues that were brought up that would deem this a type 1 or a positive declaration have been answered to my satisfaction. And so I'm prepared to vote no on the resolution.
Wooten.
I've been wrestling back and forth. I haven't had sleepless nights, but I've certainly been wrestling back and forth with this. I think the means really what this means to the town. I hope that this place goes out of business in 10 years because we're going to cure addiction. That's the whole rule. That's not going to happen. We all know that. This community, the state, the county, they're all really, it is another avenue for medicine to address. And it really is to me a very benign use of the property actually. We're reserving so much of the property. It's really off in an area that's not heavily traveled, so it's not going to impact anybody else in the community. So I think to make it a pos deck would probably be nothing more than to really to stall it, really. It's not a good thing to do. So I'm going to vote no.
Dunleavy.
I guess I gotta, this academic we're having out in Long Island, we have a lot of small, treatment centers around Riverhead. This treatment center is gonna be state-of-the-art, it's gonna be number 1. And I think that Riverhead should put their foot forward and have a state-of-the-art facility here in Riverhead, to start the county off. So I have to vote no for this resolution.
Walter.
Not that it matters, but I vote yes because I think this is probably the single silliest location that you could put an addiction and treatment facility next to what is an active runway and will be an active runway. So I do vote yes.
Resolution not adopted. Resolution 105.
CEQA classification lead agency request and determination of certificate for Verizon Wireless LLC special permit site plan at St. Isidore Cemetery, Reeves Avenue, and Horton Avenue, Riverhead, New York. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
We POSDEC all cell towers that are new cell tower proposals in the town of Riverhead because we want to see the study and whether or not there's a gap in service before we approve cell towers to be built all throughout the town. So I'm going to vote yes and look forward to seeing the study.
Wooten.
This is where a pos deck does come in handy because you really want to see this, not only the need, but the sitescapes and everything else that will affect the community forever. So yes.
Dunleavy.
Again, I'm gonna follow Councilman Wooten. We have to know, what these cell towers are gonna look like, what the residents feel about them, and are there gonna be any interference with the architectural playground that you're looking at? So, I vote yes for this.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 106.
It's a secret classification for lead agency requested determination of significance for the Verizon Wireless LLC. Special permit site plan at Woodside Orchards in Jamesport, New York. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Again, all new cell towers, we've Decked, yes.
Wooten.
Ditto, yes.
Dunleavy.
I'm gonna have the same remarks I had before. I vote yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 107.
Ratifies the appointment of a colon assistant recreation leader to the Recreation Department. So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 109.
108.
Oh, I'm sorry, 108.
Ratifies the appointment of a call-in recreation specialist to the Recreation Department. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 109.
Reappoints member to the Riverhead Open Space Park Preserve Committee. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 110.
The reappoints member to the Riverhead Open Space Park Preserve Committee. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 111.
Reappoints member to the Riverhead Open Space Park Preserve Committee. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded.
Oh, second.
Hubbard.
Will you
Yes.
stop touching this thing?
Giglio. Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 112.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute a musical works license agreement with CSAC LLC. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded,
Twice.
vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 113.
You getting there, John?
I'm getting, that's a big one. Oh, that's right there. Authorize town clerk to publish and post a public notice of public hearing to consider a local law to amend chapter 289 entitled Vehicles, Traffic and Parking Regulation of the Riverhead Town Code, weight limit of 8 tons. So move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
This is on Hubbard Avenue and Meeting House Creek Road and Peconic Bay Boulevard, and the public hearing is set for April
4th day of April,
4th,
2:05.
2017, for anybody that's interested in coming. April 4th, 2017 at 2:05 in the afternoon, and that's for weight limits for Peconic Avenue, Hubbard, and Meeting House. And I will vote yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes, this is from the intersection of County Road 105, east on Hubbard Avenue, not north, so west.
Not west.
So I'm gonna vote yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 114.
114, adopts a local law to amend Chapter 289 entitled Vehicle Traffic Parking Regulations of the Riverhead Town Code, 289-10, Parking Prohibited, 2nd Street. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 115.
Authorizes legal action against the owners, tenants, occupants, and mortgagee of premises located at 125 Creek Road, Wading River, New York. So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 116.
Oops.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement. So moved.
Then seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 117.
117, authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Family Service League for Employee Assistance Program. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved in second, a vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 118.
118 authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Arrow's Cultured Oyster Company to allow the installation of floating upweller system, FLUPSI, in East Creek. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 119.
Authorizes First Amendment to agreement with New York SMSA Limited Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 120.
Authorize the supervisor, oh no, that's you. Go ahead, I'm seconding it.
Authorize the supervisor to execute agreement with Suffolk Youth Lacrosse officials for referee umpire services for the Town of Riverhead Police Athletic League Boys Lacrosse Program, grades 4 through 8 for the 2017 calendar year. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 121.
Authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Riverhead Lacrosse Club Incorporated for referee umpire services for the Town of Riverhead Police Athletic League, girls grades K to 8 and boys grades K to 3, lacrosse program for 2017 calendar year. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, Vince, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 122.
122 authorizes the release of drainage security of Browning Hotel Properties, LLC. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 123.
Authorizes the town clerk to
Yes,
publish and
she
post.
found it. Sorry. John.
Publish and post a public notice to consider a local law to amend chapter 265 entitled Sewers of the Code of the Town of Riverhead. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Please.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 124.
Authorizes attendance at the 2017 training school and annual meeting held by the Association of Towns, February 19th through the 22nd, 2017. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 125.
Authorize the supervisor to execute polling place agreements with Suffolk County Board of Elections. So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 126.
126, I'm getting there. Approved settlement of legal action by William F. Domenico against the town of Riverhead. So moved.
D'Amico.
D'Amico.
Moved
Seconded.
and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 127.
Approved final site plan application of Peconic Bay Medical Center in Northwell Health. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Great ground. Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 128.
Authorize the publication of a health wanted advertisement.
Ratifies settlement of legal action by Campo Brothers against the town of Riverhead. So moved.
And second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Did you do your screen?
Dunleavy.
Authorize, oh, yes.
I'm ready to go.
Walter. Resolution adopted. Resolution 129.
Authorize the publication of a health wanted advertisement for part-time police officers. So moved.
Court officers.
Part-time court officers, excuse me.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 130.
Got 9,000 tabs open. He's got the biggest thumbs in the world.
Wait, now it's going the right way.
Oh, it's upside down. Forget it. Resolution one.
I'm not touching it. It does what it does by itself. My hands are here.
We need a fail-safe on the
We'll keep them there
projector.
because I don't know where they've been. So.
Not in front of the
All
side.
right, resolution 130 is to pay the bills. So moved.
Is that what we're up to?
Yes, thank God.
Moved and seconded, though.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Oh, my
Wooten.
goodness. Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution
All
adopted.
right, we have one resolution to come off the floor, which is not, it is a paper resolution. This is 131, engineering fees for the construction of a concrete ground storage tank and booster pump station at Plant 15 budget adoption. This is to move from R&M transfer to professional services. They're doing this in concert with our new engineer, Rossini. Can I get a resolution to
I
take it
make
off
a
the floor?
motion, we take resolution 131 off the floor.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to take it off the floor. Vote, please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution 131 is taken off the floor.
All right, can we get a vote on 131?
Jody.
Sure. Resolution number 131, engineering fees for the construction of a concrete ground storage tank and booster station at Plant 15 budget adoption. So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
This is when the ADD kicks in, where Sean and I are checking our emails.
That's exactly what I was. I don't want to do that now.
We're gonna have
Pay
to do
attention.
this
We'll have
when
to
we're
shut it
done
off.
with the resolution.
Now this is a point where we take comment from the public on things that may be before the town of Riverhead. We ask you to limit your comments to 5 minutes. Anybody wish to be heard today? Yes. Step up to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. If I don't shut that off, I will.
Hi,
Sorry.
my name is Michelle Beluccio. I'm from Staten Island.
I'm sorry.
Pull the microphone down.
There you go. And your name
Michelle
again?
Beluccio,
Thank you.
Staten Island, New York.
You've come a long
And-
way.
Yes. This is in regards to the banning of short-term rentals in Wading River. And I just have a few letters, just three, in regards to
You don't have to
people
read them if
for-
you don't want to. You can just submit them to the clerk and make them part of the record, and they'll publish them.
Okay, that'll be great. I'll do that too. But I also would just like to read especially one from the owner of Wading River Deli. And they just want to let, from Patricia O'Brien. She says, to it may concern, I am writing this letter to support the short-term rentals of Riverhead. I'm a business owner who greatly appreciates the rentals because it benefits the local area, especially during the summer season. All the businesses in the area can vouch for the short-term rentals. And the fact that the people that come to the area overall, spend a lot of money in her store, and they advertise for Wading River. And whether someone comes for a week or a month, they will tell friends and relatives about any businesses that happen to visit and brings more revenue to the town. So my point being is that short-term rentals can be an asset to the community. I've also seen and experienced the work that Ginny Greco and her businesses have been doing renovating the homes in Wading River. And tell you that they are the first-class decorating company and have responsible clients rent the homes because they have put their hearts and soul into their work. I appreciate you taking the time to hear just one aspect of this controversial situation, but please take that the business's perspective and revenue it brings to the town. Thank you, Pat O'Brien. All these other letters are, supporting the short-term rentals. I rent also, and having to take off a month of work to rent in Wading River is never going to happen.
Can I ask you a question? Do you
Sure.
live ever in the Wading River house?
Do I live there?
Do you
No,
own a
I live in Staten Island, but
Do you
I
own a house on Creek Road?
No, I rent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, short-term rent.
Okay.
I also have something from Ace Hardware, which is Laura Blake from Quorum, New York.
You could just 5 minutes, so choose the ones you want to read, and you can turn the other ones into us.
Okay.
All right.
Also, Home Away, Home Away, and on behalf of Expedia, Family Travels, they write to highlight their concerns with the potential effectiveness and enforceability of the ban on the short-term rentals. HomeAway is the world-leading online marketplace for short-term rentals with over 1 million listings of 191 companies. HomeAway provides a platform for property owners and managers to list their homes for rent. These short-term rentals, also known as traditional short-term rentals, serve a broad variety of purposes apart from leisure, including hosting families that are remodeling their homes, business people staying in town for more than a few days, and accompany groups and families during medical and related stays. Vacation and short-term rentals have been a crucial part of Riverhead's local travel and tourism industry. In order for the town of Riverhead to fully benefit from these positive effects, traditional vacation and short-term rental owners should be allowed to operate without a 29-day ban. And it just goes on to say, as families are traveling more often together and for longer periods of time, it's extremely important that the government employs effective ways to regulate the industry in a fair and effective way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. If you want to submit them, you could submit them to the clerk right here. Does anybody else wish to be heard tonight?
One's just like Chris up there.
Give your name and...
Sure. Hi, I'm Linda Clifford. I live in New York City. And I also have been a tenant out at Wading River. And
you don't own a house?
I do not own a house there. I do not own the house there. But I do happen to have a little dog that I love to travel with. And often in hotels, of course, they don't like you to take a pet with them. But I love going out there with my friends and visiting the vineyard, and I love going to the beaches there. So I do want to say that in my general belief that the people in a town are not offended by the short-term rentals, and it's much more preferential for me because I certainly could never take a month off to go out. I don't want to be down there for a month, but I'm happy to be there for 4 days or 5 days, that sort of thing. I also have some friends down there, and this is from Deborah Southworth, and she's also in Wading River, and she says that her out-of-state family would love to rent a lovely home in the ocean front when they visit Long Island over the summer, and they're only here for 10 days at a time, so a hotel is not the same. It's truly not the same as to have them in a beautiful Long Island home and to have that great experience of visiting out there. So the law as it is serves no one. And this is another letter from John Corman, and he says, many people feel that the government interferes too much with their personal space. This is just another example. In addition, we aren't supposed to be supporting small businesses, the real engine of the job growth and the economic recovery. Many people and families, seniors, employees of local, private, federal, and state businesses use these rentals to spend time here in Riverhead, the beginning of the beautiful North Fork. We as taxpayers benefit from these people coming here to visit and work. Why would you want to stop this with a minimum of 21-day night stay? The average person can't afford this. This is from Michael Dombrowski, and the rentals that are available are great for the local community. They bring lots of money to the area, and nothing bad comes from this at all. Short-term rentals are good for the middle class on Long Island. We can't afford to rent a home for 30 days. 1 week is a normal vacation that will support the local community. And this is a letter written by Doris Zinna. She says the entire block, this is on at Wading River, is now commercial, of which the town has created most of this with the public beach, the adjacent parking lot to La Plage, the boat ramp down at the end of the Creek Road at Suffolk County Dirt parking lot that lets everyone park there. The idea of allowing the day passes for cars from out of town to spend the day on a creek road with the benefits of money going to the town. So you see, this has basically gone from a residential property to a vacation pleasure. No one lives on the creek road anymore. In other words, most of the people down there are renting. Most of the homeowners down there is what she's saying. And this is the last letter from Kay Rapp. She's saying, my family has owned property on Creek Road since 1988. I'm not aware of very many families who have the wherewithal to afford a monthly rental on the beach. And a 30-day rental policy ties me to this contract that may not be ideal. I will not have control over who the renter might be, subject to subletting. She's thinking if she rents it for a month that she might possibly end up with a subletter, and that Justice Court and the sheriff cannot respond quickly enough for an eviction. Who suffers? My neighbors. The weekly rental policy with proper vetting seems to be a win-win for everybody. And this is respectfully William Rapp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else, you know, you're all speaking, we have a lot of hotels in the area, so you're welcome to use the hotels
And I'll
too.
bring my doggy with me.
They
You
are,
can.
they're dog friendly.
They are dog
They're
friendly.
dog friendly. We have dog friendly hotels?
We just thought it nice to be at a house, to be able to cook, to be able to sit on the deck, to have your privacy with your friends and family.
We had the resolution to start the action, so.
They did an online petition to try to get people out to talk to us, so yes.
Hi.
Miss, if you
I'm
could state your
Mimi
name.
Mears, and I live in Wading River.
What's your name?
Mimi Mears. Is this very loud? It sounds very loud to me.
What?
I do not rent there because I live there. However, I have rented other places in New York and enjoyed spending the time with my family for a week. When I go up to the vineyards on the Finger Lakes, it's beautiful. I would not want to stay in a hotel. I would rather stay on Creek Road or on a lake and have a water view and be able to bring my elderly mother, have her have full facilities, not have her in a room down the hall, you know, way down the hall with maybe other guests in between. It's all my family. I don't have to worry about my kids, who's there when I do that type of thing. Now, I'm coming back to the short-term rentals here, just saying I've done it. I think it benefits the community because the businesses, both small and large, are able to employ more people because people are using the facilities, which benefits Riverhead Township. Also, the property taxes are being paid, which benefits the schools and gets rid of some of the potholes with the repaving. I enjoy that, not having to have my tires replaced. Some of the houses go into foreclosure, which costs money to demolish them or do legal action against them. On Creek Road, there's a zombie house. It's not very pleasant. The police have been called down there because there's been dangerous activity going on. I would not want to live next to that house. And the people who own the houses on either side probably feel the same way. Some of the other women have already indicated some of my other benefits, and this kind of just ties in with something I already said, is when my children graduate high school and have other events like that in the area, I have friends that have moved. Long Island's very transient. They like to come back and be able to visit, and having a house to do that in as opposed to a hotel, and being able to do that for a week, maybe two, is much more preferable and available than a long-term rental. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard?
I know we are looking to massage it somewhere. I don't know where that's going.
Hi, good afternoon. William Charles Van Helman. Just had a thought, because I'm an Islander fan, nothing related to anything else we're talking about, but we're talking about the Epcot property. I don't know if there would be any availability to get a Coliseum over
It's
there.
for sale if they want to buy it.
Yeah, because the Islanders will be looking after 2018.
It's been for sale.
And I'm an
They haven't
Islander
come.
fan, so I'd like to see him come down, so I just thought I'd throw that out
I'd
there.
like to see him come too.
You're an Islander fan? We'll do
All right, so I'm just going to make is there anybody else wish to be heard? So I'm going to make an editorial comment. And I own something that would be a short-term rental on a lake, a very nice lake in upstate New York. And every week, when the weekends that I do have the time to go up there, I don't recognize one of my neighbors. I know all of my neighbors, all of my immediate neighbors, but I don't recognize any of them. And it doesn't bother me because I'm going up there on the weekends. And originally when this came up, we talked about it, and I said, oh, this kind of means the area is a little more prestigious because people want to come here. But then I realized, you know, I don't know any of my neighbors when I go to Lake George. And my house is in Lewin Hills, and it was a summer community. And nothing more would tick me off if every weekend I had a different neighbor. And that's the difference. These are not commercial areas. They're not. And for us to just relegate an entire area of Creek Road to a commercial area, then where does it stop? Because should I do it in Wading River and Lewin Hills? Should I do it? I don't want it. I want to know my neighbors. I want to have a beer with them or a cup of coffee, a beer with them. I love the neighborhood. And Creek Road was a neighborhood. And kind of the last time I went down during election in the summer, I didn't know any of them, but I do know most of the neighbors on Creek Road, and unfortunately, they've all been pushed out for financial benefit for these short-term rentals. And it's just changing Creek Road, and I'm not saying it's changing it for the better. The other side of the coin is a lot of these rentals that you're in have serious zoning code violations because there's been construction done without permits. And when you're in a third floor loft with no means of egress, and you're not familiar with the situation, and you put your son or daughter up in that third floor loft, and if that house, God forbid, goes on fire, it's not like a commercial hotel where the fire alarms are going to go on, smoke, everything's connected to the fire department, they're going to be there quickly. You're going to have a very disoriented person in some of these buildings because they're not used to them, because they're not designed for commercial use. So I don't know what the town board's going to do, but I know that the law's in effect now, and we're going to keep enforcing it. So with that said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Well, wait, I just want to
Oh, I'm sorry.
parlay off what
I'd
you're
like to
saying.
say something also.
That's not to say that the town's we're not naive to the fact that our communities are changing. The east end of Long Island is changing, Riverhead itself is changing as far as being a destination place, and with all the stuff that's available out here. So I think to capture some of those concerns, because some of those houses on Creek Road that are being rented out are unsafe. There's bedrooms made where there shouldn't be, there's bathrooms put in that aren't CO'd. There's a lot of problems, but I think by having a mechanism where we can capture that through inspection, maybe through commercializing some of those, that we can capture some of that. And I think there's a revenue source out there that we're losing. But I still think it can't be rampant. I'm with you, Sean. The interior part I mean, there's people complaining in parts of Aquaborg and Jamesport that live in interior land, that they're nowhere near the water, but of course, in Jamesport, you're a mile either way, that are being affected. So we're looking at it. I know the town attorney is looking at it, and we're looking at it to try to massage it. And I don't know if there's boys' sport, but we are looking to put something together. I don't know what's going to happen this season, but it'll be a lot of public hearings, and we have to hear from the public. We represent. I know one woman read something about a economic boom that we're letting go, but we have to represent the people who live here and really pay the base tax here. We have to represent the people who live here and own houses as well as those that rent them out. So it's a balance. That's it.
I guess I'm about to say something too. I know the problem. A month is too long for some people. I know people up here go down to the Carolinas and rent houses for a week or 4 days and bring their family down to have a family vacation on the water. The only problem I have is that people are building, building rooms that our building department has inspected. So it's all safety. If every one of those houses had an inspection and everything was up to snuff, well, we're talking about it, and maybe we could do something. But I'm not going to do anything until the houses are brought up to compliance with our building department. And that's the main thing, is we have to look out for safety, because if anybody has a fire or dies in it, and we haven't inspected it, we're the ones they're gonna come after. So I won't even discuss it until I see if all the safety concerns in our building department and our fire inspector are all taken care of.
All right, Councilman
And
Giglio, Councilwoman.
I would just like to say that I have to echo what the supervisor says, because, we just adopted this code for 29 days, no less than 29 days, just a few years ago. And the reason why we did that is because we received several complaints from people in communities with people that were 20 people renting a house, skinny dipping, going from pool to pool in the backyards, and garbage cans being put out on Sunday night when the trash doesn't get picked up till Tuesday, and garbage cans spilling over and flowing throughout the communities, and also just quality of life issues. I mean, party buses come in and picking people up and taking them out. I mean, we have the party buses that come to our local hotels, and those local hotels pay a significant amount of money in property taxes, where they have zoning and permission to rent out rooms on a daily or on a weekly basis, and the homes are taxed for residential use. And we have expectations from our people that live in the town, live here year round, to preserve their quality of life, and we heard nothing but complaints when these houses were being rented out. And so that's why the law was adopted just a few years ago, and I think it's an important law to uphold. I think that if you're going to rent out a house, that you would look to have somebody that's there for 30 days, that has a couple, kids that are gonna make friends with the kids in the neighborhood, and they will come back on an annual basis and rent for a month, in my opinion. So, I agree with the supervisor, and I know that there might be some proposals that are coming forward, and we will have public hearings on them, so we invite you all to come back, and I will keep an open mind, but as of right now, I believe in preserving quality of life, and not only do we have long-term rentals that are a problem, but we don't need short-term rentals added on to that.
All right, any other board members?
I'm the lone wolf. I go to the Carolinas and I rent a house for a week for a vacation. I can't afford to rent for a month.
I'm with you.
1 week is a realistic rental. I totally agree with what they're saying about the housing violations, but all these other communities do it very successfully south of us. So if we need to latch on to how they do it to make it work here, I'm in favor of doing that.
All right, we have, does anybody else wish to be heard tonight?
No, nobody say anything?
How are you?
I'm good, John. How are you? Amy Sorney, Wading River. I'd just like to comment on the woman from New York not living here. She's not a resident. And here we are abiding by the laws of the community, the regulations of the community, paying taxes into the community, and I don't think that people who live outside our community should have the same effect in shaping our regulations. I happen to know that in New York City it is against the law to rent under 29 days, and in fact Airbnb just had to pay a tremendous fine for encouraging that type of usage.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe we should sue them.
Yeah. Secondly, I would just like to ask a question. Isn't Creek Road, Oak Street, our community, zoned residential?
It's all residential.
Right. So we're talking about allowing uses outside the zoning for that community. So would you then have to go forward to change zoning?
You would.
Yeah. So if our community was zoned for a certain reason, we have a master plan, and we who live there year-round purchased our homes based on the understanding of that zoning, that in itself is an erosion of our quality of life. See where there is commercial zoning, see where there are homes that you can purchase and then rent, and then by all means find a way to rent that home legally. But in my community that is zoned residential, no thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the town board meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye, opposed, abstentions, motion carried. I was gonna rent mine year round, but it's too, weekly, but it's too much of a pain.
Daily rentals.
Daily rentals, just sit that on the TV.
Diane.
The lone wolf.